All right, hey everybody, it's Dom of Northstarball. We're going to talk about some black cards with the SS4 goodness. And here today we got,
Dane,
and
there's
just
no guest.
Dane.
No
Yeah,
guests today.
it's
People
okay.
were busy, and there's not a lot to talk about with this set. There's basically one archetype, and then the classic couple black cards with Overrealm and a basic black leader.
It's kind
We're
of
back
nice
to set.
to see that again, though. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, Black's identity became really weird over the last, basically the entire Infinite Unity set or block. Basically just kind of took black and was like, hey, we're gonna mess with this color and we're gonna make it really weird and make different types of value, which is really cool.
I
But it
think,
does create a situation where now all the old black styles are all left way in the dust.
yeah, I feel like it got kind of left behind with the you can't really multicolor black. You could, but they didn't. And then, was it, I think only set 8 it was Hachiak and 9 was Boo, so like two very opposite deck
And
identities.
they did not really work with previous black cards at all.
No.
Like there were some in Hatch, just like good generic stuff, but nothing crazy.
But yeah, let's start I start off with the promo just because it was announced and it is technically I guess part of the set with
Yeah, it's in
pre-release.
pre-release.
So Gohan and he has that cool like they did with the gods was it what's his name? Starter Coup reboot leader with the Goku Black Unison where they like arts go together. We get
It's
the
really cool.
father son duo here.
I'm down for getting this every single pre-release, but they need to do something. They need to stop giving us one and one because we have like 13 reboot Goku leaders and 3 play sets of Goku Blacks.
Yeah,
Don't do one and one. Just give us outright one and a playset, especially when they're so integral to the archetype. At least Goku, you could argue that you might not play Goku Black. You might play a different Unison Costa 3. This card literally specifically searches for pickup. So please just give us a playset or 1 to 2. Because
right.
1 to 1 does not work.
Because like they
Your
did
average
that
player
with
can't play the deck.
they did that with the Dragon Ball Heroes game. They gave you a whole playset of the card, which makes sense when you're spending $50 for a game. But like they could do that on a pre-release. Like you only go
It's
there,
just a card.
you only go once.
Hmm. It's really simple. It's just something that if you look at release in an area, especially during uh current global pandemic that we're in, people don't have playsets of those cards. Just like if you go to your local game store and you actually ask, hey, who has this normally easily accessible pre-release card? Nobody has playsets of them.
Right. And we got lucky with the coming soon Goku Black, so like you got kind of a playset a little easier. But Piccolo, if he's not like
Will
a
not get that.
2 or 4 of,
It's gonna be
yeah,
tough.
it's gonna be hard.
But we can get right to the cards. So first leader that starts with the unison in your hand. I think this could be a theme for something very simple that a lot of decks can start adopting when they want to have a specific like unison leader tag team, and it's very good. Just I mean, it's an immediate +1 regardless of going first or second. And then on top of that, it means that your game plan is instead you're not mulling for Piccolo. You're just able to mull for cards that are actually good on your first turn. And in black, you don't really have a setup. You just kind of have like, do you have a good Overrealm card?
Right.
Cool.
I think they added it to this particularly is because it's like it's a burst leader, so you
Hmm.
could have just end up bursting all your Piccolos. And I think it'd be kind of insane if like every black unison like had the same thing as that Go Tanks unison where he just gets free played. Like we
Hmm.
already know how that's going right now, so
Yeah. But so simple. It is burst 3 when it attacks, draw 1. Um, Immediately worse than an active main. 1 because you can't draw on your front on going first. but it also means that you have to attack, and there are decks that might not necessarily let you get that attack. Dormant Potential, if there's like a different important attack that you have to get, or something like 4-drop Sin Shenron that says your leader attack. It's a hindrance, and it could also prove to be detrimental.
Yeah. So,
Classic 4 life, 1/1.
yep.
Um,
Which is kind of
and
meh.
that is what's really interesting. If you don't play black, like didn't play black before, this leader will not make any sense.
Yeah, he's like the old school, basically
Can
old
you hear me
school.
though?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're just a little muffly, but it's getting better.
Okay. Yeah, he's basically just like an old school one, except his is what puts 3 cards back. People need to get into the rhythm.
Now I might have lost you.
Yeah, I no, I it keeps happening. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll just repeat that. If you're used to a leader that can on the backside shuffle back 3 active main and then do your overwhelm, you'll have to sequence differently, or you're more realistically, I think this is a prime deck that will play the Vegeta, the revived Ravager, because then you'll be able to overwhelm and still mill 3, so that way your backside is live to get the overwhelm, and you can still get your 3 black cards there for next turn.
Yep.
So proper sequence is going to be important. Playing cards that specifically burst after being overwhelmed are going to be very useful.
What's also something like I noticed with this leader is he since we last pre-release we got a reboot. This kind of feels reboot-ish, where now you can have like a mono black Massane leader from the set 3 starter set,
Mm-hmm.
because he bursts. The backside does not burst, but so when you overwhelm, uh, he gets 5k, which is what Massane did, and then critical or double strike, which is really nice. Have the option to either crit your opponent's life or double
And,
strike a unison.
and I think this is what's really going to set this leader to be better than the one that we'll talk about shortly. Because in an elongated game, the ability to choose between critical and double strike is so monumental. There are going to be turns where you can't kill your opponent, but if you give your leader double strike, they'll take it and they'll kill you on the crackback. But
Yep.
giving crit will always supply pressure to your opponent, as well as the fact that if you look at your little traits and you look at your color, you're a black sand leader, and oh darn, would you look at that? There's a crack in space time, which gives your leader 15,000 and double strike crit if you're a black sand. And, well, 35 double crit. Clash Coup says,
Yeah, it
um,
sounds
are there any
gross.
other leaders that do that? I think there are a
But
couple.
that gets crit and double strike.
Yeah, well, that, but like specifically 35 double crit. Oh, Mass Saiyan.
Yeah.
Mass Saiyan, Clash Coup, and then I guess U7 Green Goku, but we don't talk about that card.
Piccolo, he's pretty cool. 5k for every 2 markers. That's the first time we see something like that, and I kind of like that. Only on your turn, so it's not like super beefy and like snowballs.
Hmm.
And he has really good +2, +1.
It's a
Um,
nice option.
yeah. All right.
So, like, I really think that the biggest piece here is a lot of the black decks now would love to be able to free play the stuff from the Vegeta starter decks, the Supreme Kai of Time, the Trunks, and the Vegeta. However, they can't really afford to do so and also overwhelm 3 every turn. Piccolo is here to save that. If you are more than likely only going to mill one of the 3 pieces in a 60 or 50 to 60 card deck, if at all. So you can go ahead and play the one and then use Piccolo to either +1 or +2, deciding on how much offense your opponent has, and then set back up for Overwhelm 3, which I think is really powerful, especially since the +1 is just no minus in hand, but a strict card on board for +1. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
Cool. Now to the main set. We get Goku. He's also a burst 3 leader on the front side. Oh, just so everyone knows, because Burst has kind of been gone for a while, Burst is a cost, so you can choose not to pay it. You just won't get the draw a card and take a life, what this Goku does, or what the Gohan does with drawing a card. And
Hmm.
Burst also does trigger those Vegeta starter deck cards because you are a Black Saiyan and you're milling cards.
And the leader, I mean, I think he really just kind of speaks for himself. He's a 1-1 leader. He's an up to a life, which is very good, better than mandatory life. And then backside, he's sometimes for a pretty big number. Realistically, you're pretty unlikely to get above 25 with the leader skill, but it's not impossible, especially in an elongated game. I think what's really interesting is that his active main is to put 4 cards back and draw one. So even if the leader can't attack or you're limited, you can still draw one. You can do it before you have to commit any attacks. And on top of that, 4 black battle cards plus a card that might mill 2 or put 2 back, like the gravy from, is that Colossal Warfare?
Pretty
Combo
sure you
with it, and
said
you put
four,
two
yeah.
two black battle cards from your warp to your drop. It immediately sets up Overwhelm 6, which this set gives us a lot of Overwhelm 6 cards to work with, and I think that's going to be something that's really unique and
Yeah,
really
it's
powerful
it's
in
pretty
this
good.
deck. It
He,
might not necessarily be broken, but it's
it's
good.
it's fun. Um, we got the unisons. Black gets 2 super rare unisons compared to everyone else this set. Gohan and Vegeta both have autos that go off when Overwhelm happens. Gohan just gets a marker. Vegeta gets to choose to add 2 and to add up the one and use this +2 effect then. It's not just like you pay +2 and then whenever you overwhelm, it's auto when you overwhelm, you can pay the cost of adding 2 markers.
That is the big piece, and I think a lot of people were confused about timing, and I hope that that kind of helps clear it up if anyone's still confused. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, these cards are just like Gohan is clearly supposed to go with Goku. Gohan
Yeah,
plus Goku is literally Overwhelm 6.
it's right there.
It's it's just like, hey, here's the easy math for all your like 20 double strike crit, barrier removal, and like don't attack me cards. And I think that it actually has some pretty good synergy with the deck. Likewise, at the very least, man, Gohan is a 4 energy 20k attack so it's like hard to deal with, or energy if you overrun.
And
I think
adds
it's
2
got,
cards to hand.
yeah, like I think it's pretty good. There, I don't see a lot of reason why it wouldn't see play other than the rest of the power level being good. And then Vegeks just being so overwhelmingly powerful for Black right now.
Yeah. Vegeta, we get our first look first use of Pacific Black Energy, which
I
looks
love this
it looks
card.
cool. Just seeing the little
I
black
love
dots there.
I love this card.
-5, pay 4. So that's like our first activate main on a counter that costs energy actually too. So this card is
Well,
just like kind of blowing things up.
it's it's got so much going for it in like a really subtle way. There's nothing about this card that just screams, "Wow, this card is ridiculous." But like, if your opponent plays a battle card playing on keyword skill, they drop a card, and that's once per turn. So if that was on either player's turn, or if like you're playing against red and they're like, "Hey, I want a bunny girl," you're like, "Okay, cool, drop a card."
Yep.
Like, and then on their turn, when they try to play something because everyone cheats something out, drop a card. It's
It's
just incremental advantage, and the fact that it's a +2 means that your opponent has to hit multiple times. Otherwise, that -5 is very realistic.
yeah, and that -5 like will just win a game. Definitely if you're playing like the faster black decks, or even if you're just like that's 9 energies. You're not so you
I think
can't just like
control.
drop this. In the control,
I think
oh,
control.
Hatchiyak?
Toa.
Toa, yeah, she does overwhelm
Toa.
a lot.
Because you want to pick up your life because sometimes your opponent tries to stall you out, and especially with this card on board, they'll try to kill it rather than hitting you. Um, and then on top of that, extra hand control of like, hey, you're not allowed to play things until you kill my Vegeta, and a +2 is very strong. That's so hard to deal with. Imagine
Even
going
even on a
first.
5K.
Yeah, and like that's still 3 attacks they have to sink into it. And in a deck like Toa, where they're like hand control and you have to kill them by X turn, otherwise you just start losing 3 cards a turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think this card is very powerful, and I wish that it was one of the SPRs, but alas.
The SPR. Oh, we'll get to that in a little. I think he's next actually. But this is our
Yeah.
first time we were doing the video with knowing the SPRs. I
Mhm.
don't have them next. I have the build-ups.
Which is fine.
So we got the Overwhelm 6 gang. They're pretty good.
These cards are so good, man.
I feel
And,
like if Overwhelm 6, like, what? Cause what's that SS3 Trunks and Draft Box? He's Overwhelm 4.
in draft box,
Draft Box 4. The
so
SS3 Tag Team
that's
Trunks.
the overwhelm 3.
It was Overwhelm 3, and he was crit
It's
double
overwhelm
strike.
3. He gains critical if he's overwhelmed. If battle, you now. I'm not one to say bibidi is broken, and I think the actual problem is the projects leader. However,
Bibidi
Trunks
on
plus
these.
bibidi giving up 2 or 3 cards in hand to double crit a lot your opponent on turn 1 or 2 is really good.
I'm surprised these guys even have combo power. That's insane.
Um, I think what's really fair about them is I think particularly Goku is very powerful, but it's only a 20k. If it was
Mhm.
25, I think it would be much more potent
Yep.
because you couldn't just super combo over it. Vegeta costs 2. Black notoriously has no answers to barrier. Like you have to, like Toa decks are still running one of or two of demonic absorption in the main or sideboard because there is just no answer to good barrier cards.
Yep.
This
Yep.
Vegeta
Yep.
solves that issue for 2. And then Bardock is a floodgate, and this card is ridiculous. And my god, this card is so powerful. It is Nimbus without dropping a card, establishing a body, and then
And I do
uh
like the little clause. You can't play
yeah.
another one next turn. So
Which is good. That
yeah,
makes it honestly fair. If it wasn't that way, I would just play Goku and I would never die.
right.
Negate
Just
the
do
leader swing, get over a unison, and then one
one
battle
drop,
card attack.
25k every turn.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good card though.
Yeah, these are all build ups. I think yeah, they're all rares, so their full arts are just gonna look awesome.
Hmm.
All
I
right.
think specifically Goku and his fists are going to be just absolutely monstrous.
Yeah. And then these dudes, the Goku evolves, so this is super rares now. SS Sport Goku, SS Sport Vegeta got left behind as no, that's probably the GT Unison. SS Sport Vegeta got left behind somewhere, but SS Sport Goku's here. Xeno Double Strike. Xeno evolves for 5.
Way too much. Honestly, too much, even given his power level.
Yeah, like Xeno Evolve it has that weird thing where they like to keep it the same cost as the card. Like you could just hard cast this guy for 5, but if it's evolved, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, current barrier, warp it, and he gains triple attack. So right there, like the setup's easy because you just need a Goku Xeno and there's that one drop negate. But you
And on
can
top of that,
recur.
there's this the new SS3. There's also what
Yeah,
Saiyan Transcendence. There's the Overrealm for 1 from base set 7 that like mills 2 more or puts 2 more cards back in your warp. It's
yeah.
pretty good.
There's easy like low cost or like zero cost options to
The
get that
issue
out.
is paying 5 for a card with 0 protection that while it definitely has the numbers keyword,
Has the what? You got a robot again?
it has the numbers and keyword to win the game. Double
Yes.
strike, full attack 30k. We know that's powerful enough to win a game. However, for 5 energy in black, which is already limited on options, your opponent can just counterplay you, and every color's counterplay is going to make this card significantly less threatening. Because it's a Xeno Evolve, it has a counter window 2 for Yamcha. 50 double triple is literally 3 cards in hand. Cool. Um,
It does
that
have
just
that
kills
nice
it.
auto though, to survive any crackbacks or help you try to survive crackbacks.
I'm mostly worried about counterplays because paying
Yeah.
5 for this, getting Vegeta, specifically getting Trunks or Frieza would feel terrible. And then getting Vegeta or Yamcha basically nullify how much damage it can do in a turn.
Yes.
And
Plus
then it has no
5.
protection to remove.
Yeah. Plus 5 if you're like doing a more aggro route is pretty high up there. If it's mid range, so hopefully you're playing the mid range style, then you would probably try to bait out their stuff with your other like pretty strong cards that are cheap.
Hmm.
So hopefully like you mess with them enough, and then when it's safe, you would drop this card. But then
It's
it's yeah,
just hard.
it's harder then. Yeah.
This card is telegraphed.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to do an overwhelm for free on a Goku, which is I think only
This
um
overwhelm 6 guy.
the overwhelm 6. But enough about this card. It's good, just has some protection issues. Bardock is
Bardock.
just outright good.
Overwhelm 6
I
for 3.
have
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of criticisms with this card. 3 is a little expensive, but the only card that's really going to prevent it from being played or like still getting its auto is Trunks, Frost Deadly Poison, and Cold Bloodlust. But like 2 of those cards are right now,
Yeah, you're
and
not
one of
seeing
them
any of the extra card counterplays really.
you just play lower to the overwhelms that your opponent doesn't want to use Trunks on.
Right.
You do
And then
play
t-
Frieza or anything like that, 3 energy cards out of hand. That's not a bad trade.
and then for your Toa deck, would you think this guy for Toa warping 2 cards
I could see it being played at 2, maybe.
like later on in
Um,
the game and try to finish also?
the issue is that Overwhelm 6 isn't really ever what you're trying to do because you always
Right.
want to Overwhelm 3 to make them drop a card
Yep.
or draw your own cards. However, it's certainly something you can consider. It's just not something that is like, wow, this is an auto include. This is the best card in the deck. You know what? Because for 3 energy Toa, you can also play Mira in like the free play Mira, and then the 3 energy active main to play either one of the 5 drops.
Okay.
So
No, it makes
it's
sense.
there, but it's dual attack, not crit. If this card was crit, it'd be an auto include.
Oh yeah.
It'd be an auto include. So
Actually, I just
you just
realized
have
their 30k is also for our
for
archetype
for
stuff.
Dark Broly.
Yeah.
I think Goku could see play in Dark Broly because it's very low energy investment.
Goku, or
But I
you
don't.
mean Bardock?
No, I think Goku could because
Low
you don't
air.
want to really overwhelm in Broly all that much. But Goku is like just literally just play the Goku negate plus power burst and you're fine.
Yeah. All right. I think that's kind of like the main archetype air quotes for Goku. The rest we got
Black
some generic fun stuff. Demon Clan,
fun
Demon
is
Realm
that what we call this?
race.
Is
Yeah,
that what we
Haru
call it?
Haru's a menace again. Yep.
Why? That card is so silly. Why did Bandai do this? I really do not understand.
I'm just kind of confused. Like, so Black gets their first 1-drop gain 10k double strike card, but it's
But
not a
it
take a
doesn't
life one. It just has it. If you have a Black
if you
Unison.
have a unison. And by the way, I think this card alone is evidence that Bibidi is going.
Right. Yeah.
I do not believe Bandai is willing to print a 1-drop like this and not ban Bibidi.
A 1-drop
So
double strike for a lot.
it's just
It's a lot to deal with. When already Gotenks swings with double strike on their like ending
really.
turn, and your leader swings with double strike with like crack in space time or something.
I think there's a lot going on, and Bandai needs to be careful. But they are trying to give a power level to Black, but Bibidi was too much. So I think in non-Bibidi decks, I think this card will be very good but balanced.
Yeah. Shun Shun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
blocker 15. Okay.
I'd rather just play Gohan because he free plays.
Yeah.
Tag team SS3. I apologize.
Uh, Devilmen, they're interesting. We like Dane and I think when we both look at the previews, we were getting excited. We saw counterplay cards for black, and we are hoping they would be like kind of match the unison ones, because black doesn't have the cycle of if you have a unison with 2 markers or whatever, free play this card or free counter this card. You can't play counterplays, whatever, like Frieza and
They don't.
Trunks.
They
Black
just
still
don't have
doesn't
any.
got any.
As is, Black really didn't have counterplays. They had Deborah, who
Yeah,
is really not very good. And then they kind of teased us and gave us Great Devilman. If this card had a counterplay and the counterplay was reduced to 1, this card could see play. But I think it's highly unlikely to see any play. 1, because its leader requires Dark Broly for the auto. But in addition to that, 2 energy for a 2 energy card is not a good trade on a counterplay. You can do so much more for 2 energy on your turn.
yeah, and just just to be able to send cards to the drop also, like the deck. Well, when we get the Dark Broly, I kind of forgot these are Dark Broly guys.
Mhm.
I would have put them later, but to the fact like Dark Broly has a lot of ways to do that already, so it's just kind of weird.
It's just not.
Same
It's
with the
not
counter
good.
attack. I think he does the same exact thing, right? 2 to the drop. Yeah,
Yeah. And who's paying 2 for a counterattack in Black?
yeah.
What? You have
For
Power Burst and Goku and man, Max Kamehameha? Like, come on.
in
Bandai.
constructed, maybe not constructed. Sealed, maybe, but we'll see.
Oh, in sealed, this card will see lots of play because a big issue with last set is that there were basically no hard negates.
There's like
This
2.
card is a hard negate as a common.
Poutine gravy, we got them as vanillas this time. So if you're doing like a skillless Demigra deck, maybe that one Demigra from
Uh,
Magnificent Collection. But the other one,
yeah,
I think the Poutine's a
but the
better
other ones
choice,
have the
maybe.
same power, but they do stuff.
Yeah, the
Because the other
gravy
one
was
bursts.
really good. I forgot what the Poutine did exactly.
It just grabs another Demigra
Oh,
to do
so
the
she
effect
was, yeah,
turn. She's great.
yeah,
Um, and they didn't even give them like more power, so I think that's a little iffy.
yeah,
I think black, the vanillas in black, there are not enough cards that basically say you can't play this. You can't like you can only play black cards. So I think black vanillas could have had either 21, 24, or 25,000 power to kind of help them edge out the color or the colored vanillas, if you will, since they have 0 combo power. Because right now there's just no reason to play these cards.
yeah. That's that's that. Other black cards, extra cards. Again, we got excited. Counterplay, counterattack. They're still pretty meh. The Rebellion Hammer send 3 black cards when you drop to the warp, so as an additional cost. You still have to pay 2 on the counterplay. You can't just send cards from the drop to the warp. Battle card being played, and it costs 4 or less, place an order drop instead of being played.
Almost really good.
If you have 12 or more black cards in your warp, cost goes down by 1. So the 12 cards, I believe, have to be in the warp before you pay the cost to get it to be 1.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
still one. It's like a
Because
1 drop.
you will on announce of play, pay energy cost, reveal,
Additional
then
costs.
your opponent has their counter window, and then you pay additional costs based off of timing, and then you
Yeah.
resolve the effect. Um, this card is really close to being good.
If
If
it
this card
warped
said from
first,
3 to warp to drop,
mm,
this card would be highly playable, but it's not because you have to give up your overwhelm for a turn in a burst 3 leader, or you can realistically play this in something like Vegex, but Vegex uses its energy because it already gets so much value out of its deck. I think this was so close to being the counterplay that Black needed, but it's not quite there.
yeah. And also like I don't like a black card that just sends the card to drop instead of just sending it to warp because it's more of a black thing. So
Mhm.
kind of weird. 10 times Kamehameha. Besides these two looking great in foil, that's about it.
Oh, they absolutely will. I
This
think
one, this one does well.
Kamehameha.
It
Yeah,
puts
I
cards from
think this.
warp to drop, which is what you want. And then you can add this card from drop to your hand. So it's just like was it Time's Judgment back in
Yeah,
the set 3?
similar to Time's Judgment, but it's not upon activation. It lets you do it as an active main. So on a later turn of the game, you can just add it back. And since more black leaders are saying cards rather than battle cards from drop to warp, or from warp to drop, like on their backside, it's going to see relevance because at the very least you can like, oh no, I'm out of power bursts, I'm out of Goku's. Well, look at that. There's 2 instant transmissions. I can get rid of some cards, but at least I'll have negates.
I can see this and like uh Max Power Kamehameha kind of floating around because they kind of work together. One puts cards from the warp to the drop, and the other one put drop to warp.
Yep.
So
It's got some interesting synergy for sure.
the mid-range-ish kind of deal again. A lot of negates. And then I threw the super combos here. Rare got their super combo, just like the other ones. The
And
cycle.
this is the new staple because I think this and red are the 2 colors that are going to play this card. We're now at the point of
And green.
Bibi, especially after
Green Vegeta.
Haru Haru. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's like archetype specific though.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
A servant.
Specifically, this deck will just like, or this color, if and when Bibidi gets banned or limited in some way, this card will become the default.
Yep. And then yep, normal super combo. They're both Sane and Xenos, which is really nice for just in general. Like in the future that could see more play. All right. It's time. Father son duo. Broly and Paragus. This deck, like we needed to see all the pieces before you could say anything about it. The leader adds cards. He self awakens himself, which is really nice. And then the just messing with the 30Ks. Because this deck plays like one drop 30Ks, which is kind of scary. But you'll see like there's no combo power. That's why the awaken side has the activate battle, where it can basically pseudo combo its own cards away for his own power. Broly, they got a Broly unison for this deck. He's the strongest like printed black unison, like a little harder to get rid of. Like turn 1 you have a 15k, but can't attack till he has 3 or more markers, which is cool. And then his effects feel his drop, which is how you play all the big dark SS4 Broly's, is that you send them from the drop to warp 30Ks to play them from your drop. And then
Yeah.
his big effect is just it's
You big plus your leader.
which is already like gross because you can swing with all your 30k dudes and then combo them away because you just activate battle choosing them. So you get like a really big swing
It's only from your hand
from your hand or battle area.
or battle area. Oh wow,
Yeah,
but it's not in rest mode though. Oh, but it is just choose one.
yeah,
Oh, look at
yeah.
that.
He's getting it now, guys. I played against this deck a few times with our buddy Rex, our special guest from Red, and been looking at it, and it does a lot of swings. It goes it's I guess kind of wide, but it's a lot about sequencing. And the leader sets himself up for that a bit. Warp to drop, draw a card. He doesn't even have to swing the draw, and he is a draw 2 leader, which is kind of nice. So the dudes, there are 3 black dark Broly's. The super rare, they're all unique, which is good, and that's where the sequencing will come in with the comboing, the activate battle on the awaken side, so you can just like play more dudes. I think they all
This
have the
deck,
same activate main, right?
yes, to other than this card from your drop to your warp, and then you can play it from your drop area.
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because they could have actually said not other than this card, because then it wouldn't be able to play from your drop area and you couldn't resolve it. But they guess they wanted to be specific and help people understand how it works. These cards are just pretty good. A 30k blocker for one, and then a
Not for one. For
well, it'll be
free.
for one. It'll be for free, or but 6 is a lot. Like you can realistically only do this once or twice per turn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, since
one
6, yeah.
realistically just once per turn. But what I'm mean to say is that you basically can do it for one off of the Broly that we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah,
But
we got.
realistically, these cards are just pretty good, man.
Yeah,
Like you have a 30k that rips a card, you have a 30k that warps any battle card, and then you have a 30k blocker. These are all gonna see play in the deck. It's very odd that they chose probably I don't want to say it's the weakest because it's still like unconditional removal other than barrier, but like I just don't know if this was like the card to have the super rare for. That might just be me.
yeah. I feel like the middle one maybe. That
The middle one
affects
might
the effect seems a little
it,
better.
ripping a card in a 30k is like basically saying this attack goes through and you lose 4
And you
cards.
get rid of one of their battle cards from their drop, which is like apes and rubber hands and all that fun stuff. At it, we've been seeing a lot more hate lately, which has been great.
Mm-hmm. So these cards look great though. Specifically, the rare is going to look really good full art. The SR already looks good, and then the other one is just kind of like the most mediocre, but it still looks pretty all right.
Yeah, no, they look menacing, which is the whole point. And yeah, they're full art foils. They hopefully they're gonna continue that. I feel like they would.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will just look fantastic.
And then really last piece, 30k is a really big number, guys.
Yeah,
It's a really big number
yeah. You notice that there's zero combo power with any of these cards coming up, and that's just yes.
because these are all 30ks.
And then can
Otherwise,
you
they'd be able
imagine
to
like a
jump on
bibidi
anything.
coming in on top of a 30k?
Like it's really powerful. Um, but these cards have to have friends that get them out. So let's talk about those
Yeah, we
friends.
get a one drop 30. We got one drop 30ks. Oh my god. Wow. Okay, it's
So
fine. They can't attack.
broken.
They
They
can't
can't
attack,
attack.
and you can't negate their skills.
So let's talk about real quick. Dispo does not negate the skills of these cards, but they
Yes.
can play them. So do that, please. If you're playing these decks, play Dispo.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
At the very least, Dispo is 2 instances of 5k combo because you can combo it to get out of an attack or put on pressure, and then do it again, and then on your leader swing, combo away the other 30ks.
We'll just have to see how the numbers work because you gotta be juggling a lot of 30ks between drop and warp.
Yep.
But yeah, they won't be negated, and they only work in Dark Broly, which is fine. Or else it'd be insane to play
Mm-hmm.
30ks. That could attack.
Oh, it
Um,
says the you can't play this card from any area. Yeah, okay, never mind.
yep.
That's fine. Um, these are all just like the enablers of like the. So the Broly on the left is like the strict enabler. This is literally just the card that says, "Hey,
Yeah.
I want
This.
to, I want to start playing cards." And then the Toa and the Paragus are basically the enablers for, "Hey, let's not only do that, but let's start really playing cards." Toa
Yeah.
allows you to more consistently do so, and Paragus just lets all of your 30ks become critical because that's fair.
Yep. You have to have a Toa on board. So, but you're gonna be playing this middle Toa because she adds that Dark Dragon Ball. She adds any Dark Dragon Ball, but you're gonna grab the 7-star Dark Dragon Ball because the red one. So we
Mm-hmm.
saw that earlier, but that will play. You'll use it on this one drop Broly, and then you'll play any of your big Brolys
Turn one,
and give it crit. Turn two.
and then give it crit. And then so Paragus, right? You have to turn them in sideways, which like is kind of a big deal in other decks, but these are 30Ks. They aren't going anywhere except against like green.
And yellow, because they're rested.
I guess. Yellow doesn't have a lot of removal, though, to be honest. They have a lot of stall, but not a lot of actual removal. So I think this deck is pretty good. We still have some more pieces here, but they don't really seem to quite
Yeah, I
do
could
as
go to
much as
those
the rest
quick.
of the cards.
They're also a zero. These ones have combo power though, but this Toa recycles cards, which is kind of okay because a lot of you just want to be transferring them a lot between drop and warp. So
Mhm.
I guess like she's a number because she's a 30k. And then this
Yep.
Mira's cool because he has Union Absorb.
So I honestly think this Mira, if there was a better 6-drop Mira than the one we have on the right, I think this one would see play in Toa
Oh yeah,
because it's a burst and it lets you draw 2 for 3, which is still not bad. We like that's literally what the Android 18 does that everyone is still playing in um like honestly in a bunch of decks where it's just 3 energy, draw 2, 20k body. But he's also a burst 3, which the game is now progressing towards that being a useful skill, and it has the additional Union Absorb. At the very least, this is a good 3 energy, draw 2.
yeah. 3 energy, draw 2. The burst is great, and then you Union for free.
To play this guy.
Yeah. Warps a card from your opponent's hand. You choose.
Just one, though, is
That's pretty
not.
good. And then she's one black
Just
battle card,
one.
30k power, place it on owner's drop, and choose one of your opponent's battle cards, send it to the warp. It feels your. Can you choose itself? I guess you could. And it's activate battle.
Mm-hmm.
So if your opponent like swings, goes big, dumps hand, forgets about this card, you pick itself and warp a card. Warp the battling
Mm-hmm.
card if it doesn't have barrier.
Like these cards are good, and I think they might see play in Broly. I just don't know if they'll see play elsewhere, other than maybe the 3-drop Mira is just generic 3 to draw 2 and burst.
Yeah, which and a 20k, so it's not awful.
Yep, pretty
Cool.
solid. Yeah.
Uh, then we got
What
our
else we
last
got?
bit, a little bit of extra cards. Burley gets his own extra cards, so the Darkness Blastinger is just the generic. Your leader is this card, gain 10k power,
Yeah.
and then he send 2 cards to drop to warp. Leader gets an extra 5k for the turn.
Which is solid.
Yeah,
I
it's like
will
a
say that
bean.
I think this card is better than most of the like plus leader skills that we get. Um, but the real issue is that it still just costs energy for an extra card that might be dead in your hand most of the time.
Yeah.
So, and then we have the other good one though.
This one
This
you
one's
choose a
good.
dark Broly in the battle area, so not your leader. But maybe the guy you give crit. I mean, the art kind of just tells you what to do. Give crit.
it,
Yeah.
it says power up your Broly and then power him up again.
Yeah, because the Paragus taps himself and Toa gives it crit, give it dual attack, it swings twice. That pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Dark Broly. He just swings a lot with 30Ks. That's about it. It's a very simple deck.
Well, it's a simple deck in concept. In practice, it
It's
is going
gonna
to be
yeah.
a difficult deck to
It's
pilot,
gonna
and I
come
will
down to
commend players that will actually do it.
sequencing the drop and warp. Um, because now your main resource is what's in your drop and in your warp and transferring back and forth using your leader and your other cards and your Broly unison.
It
And
will be important. I think it's very interesting. I'm excited to see if it is super good or if it's just pretty good. It still follows the theme of black since set 7 where black is just a value color. It still doesn't have options. It's just hey, my number is bigger than yours or like
yeah,
you have less attacks than me kind of thinking. Which is cool. It's fine.
Yeah,
What do you?
I'm really digging the earlier stuff though, like the OG overall plays.
Hmm.
I might play with that. Dark Broly, it's Broly. Are we Broly fatigued yet?
Uh, I have been for a long time.
I know you have.
I when was the last set that we didn't have a
Wait,
Broly?
we
Set
have
8,
two Brolys this set. Oh my god.
3 if you count the fact that we have default Broly and the Unison because we have
No,
BR,
BR's
BR,
red, remember?
and then
Yeah.
this Dark Broly archetype has a regular Broly too.
Yeah. Well, technically he's regular Broly with the Xeno Ball or Dark Ball. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, we have like
basically
where's our Bio Broly deck? Just next set, just Bio Broly. Actually, if you
just
want to know about next set, watch my last video where I talk about what it's going to be in set 12, predicting
prediction for set 11
predictions for set
or set
12.
12.
No
Nice
Broly.
plug.
Thank
No
you.
Broly present.
I'm getting this YouTube thing down.
Let's just keep plugging. Shameless. Let's see. You can also watch our review from last Friday. The week before we did red and green, and this upcoming week, probably in the next few days, we plan to do blue. And blue is probably the most interesting color of the set.
Yeah.
Maybe if not the strongest. It is
Monocolor
certain.
Invoker, potentially.
It's it's
Esque.
it's got the most weird to it. Sticks to blues themes, but doing it in a new way, and it's
They're
really
just
cool.
going all in on it. They're going all in on both of like Blue's themes. Energy and counters.
Which is cool. So we'll get you guys with that. In the meantime, have a great day. And this has been Northstarball, Dane, and Dom.